ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। ॐ ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ शान्ति 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 हरि ओम्। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम्। Let's take a sankalp. Padmini ji, do you have a question?
No, madam.
Okay.
I think that was just by fluke. So, Charvi, stay on speaker mode and pin yourself.
Okay. Okay. All right. So last class, we did the most important topic of Vedanta, that is Jiva Ishvara Aikyam, the oneness of Jivatma and Ishvara, Jivatma and Paramatma, the essential oneness between the two. That is the most important learning that we get from Vedanta. That is what we looked into. We looked into the example of Soyam Devadatta also, to explain to us that how superficial attributes, the properties that we see superficially, once we remove them, we understand that essentially both Devadatta, who was in the first standard, and this huge Devadatta, they are one and the same. So same way, when you remove the external, the superficial attributes, Jiva and Ishvara are one and the same. It is just Jiva is Atma wearing the costume of the Shariratrayam, and Ishvara or Paramatma is Brahman, or again the consciousness only wearing the costume of Maya. So they are one and the same. Now with this clear understanding of Jiva and Jagat, let us understand how this Jagat and the Jiva actually came into being in the form that we see. Okay, so the study of cosmology, that begins with two beginningless principles. First, we know is Brahman, and the second one is Maya. Brahman and Maya together is what we call Jagat or Ishvara, right? Vishwarupa Ishvara or Jagat. So these are the two beginningless Anadi principles. The Brahman, which is the consciousness principle, and Maya, which is the matter principle. So matter principle means matter plus energy. Spirit plus matter. Consciousness plus matter. Brahman plus Maya. So these two are the Anadi principles through which this Jagat comes into manifestation, into being, in the Srishti comes into being. So now the common features between Brahman and Maya, we know that both are Anadi, both are beginningless, both do not have an origin. But now let us look at the differences between Brahman and Maya. Okay. Here. So these are the differences that we see between Brahman and Maya. Firstly, Brahman or consciousness, it is non-material principle. It is a non-material consciousness principle, whereas Maya is a material principle. It is matter. Brahman, the consciousness, it is a propertyless principle. It doesn't have any physical or chemical properties. It does not have attributes because it is non-material in nature. It is not matter in nature, right? So it cannot have properties. So it is nirgunam, whereas Maya is matter or energy. And so Maya is full of potential properties. It can have n number of attributes. It is saguna. Then Brahman, the consciousness, being beyond time and space, it is never subject to change. It is a constant. It never changes. So it is changeless, avikara. Whereas Maya, it is the matter principle and it can never remain the same. Every moment it is changing. You look at the entire universe, anything in the universe you take, and it is changing every second, right? So Maya is ever changing, whereas Brahman is non-changing. It is changeless. And finally, Brahman, the consciousness principle, is nirvikalpa. Nirvikalpa means it is a homogeneous one, like space. Okay, just it is not subject to division. Okay, like space, even if we divide it with walls, yet it is one single space only. You just remove the walls and it is one single space. So Brahman is nirvikalpa. It is not subject to division. Whereas Maya, it is like an amoeba. Okay, like one unicellular creature, amoeba, it multiplies into so many amoebas, right? Through cell division. Same way, Maya can multiply into the entire cosmos. So the entire cosmos that we see is nothing but Maya only. So Maya is savikalpa. It has so many divisions. So these are the basic differences between Maya and Brahman. And it is out of this mixture, okay, it is out of this Brahman-Maya mixture that the universe is created. Or the right word is the universe is manifested, not created, but manifested. So now the universe manifests out of this seed, which we call Maya. So we know this part now clearly. Now, the scriptures point out that the actual evolution of the universe from Maya, it happens in 2 stages. Okay, Maya to kya hai? It is the Karana Prapancha, right? It is the causal universe. From the causal universe, how does this actual universe come into being? So there are 2 stages. So let us look into the 2 stages. तो पहला तो कैसे होता है? जैसे सीड में से एक सबसे पहले क्या होता है? प्लांट बनता है, right? And that plant grows to be a tree. So first a plant evolves from a seed and that plant further evolves to grow into a full-fledged tree. So plant is the intermediary stage. And the full-fledged tree, that is the final stage. So Maya is like that seed stage. Okay. And after that seed stage, there is an intermediary stage, which is called Sukshma Prapancha Abhivyakti. Means in this stage, what happens? Maya, the causal matter, comes to the level of subtle matter, the subtle universe. Okay. Maya was the causal matter, right? That Maya in the intermediary stage, in the second stage, evolves to become the Sukshma Prapancha, the subtle universe. Okay. Now, the causal matter comes to the level of Sukshma Prapancham in the middle stage. And then what happens? Uske baad, this subtle matter, the subtle universe, that evolves further to become the gross universe, the Sthula Prapancha, the universe as we see it, as we hear, as we can touch, we can feel. This universe around us, as we see it, is the final stage. Okay, that is like the plant evolving into the tree. So, if you have to understand what is subtle and what is gross creation, so yes, Siddharthji.
Is this the same thing as subtle body and gross body?
Very similar, but now what we are going to understand that how actually these are formed. हाँ? पहले हमको ये स्टेज मालूम है कि सटल बॉडी कारण शरीर में से सूक्ष्म शरीर आता है जिसमें इवॉल्व होके the gross body comes, the sthula shariram comes. In the similar way, yes, the Karana Prapancham Maya, the seed that evolves to form the Sukshma Prapancha, the subtle universe, and that further evolves to form the gross universe as we see it. It is similar. Now we are going to go into the process of understanding that how actually it happens. Okay. So yes, the stage is similar to that. Okay. So khali just to understand that what is gross and what is subtle, once again I'll just explain to you that gross is something that is perceptible by all the five senses. Okay. So if we look at the gross elements, so gross elements में क्या होता है कि पृथ्वी, okay, if we take the gross पृथ्वी, the gross earth, so the gross earth is available for perception by all the five senses. Shabda, you can hear, I mean, I don't know whether you'll accept it or not, but we can hear the sound of Prithvi. Okay. Then Sparsha, you can definitely touch it, you can feel it. Rupa, you can see it. Then Rasa, Prithvi has a taste. Then Gandha, Prithvi has a smell. So you can perceive the gross earth with all the five sense organs. So you can say that it is very sthul, it is gross. Now, usse ek level subtle agar hum dekhenge, to water, okay? Water is available only to four senses: Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, and Rasa. Okay. Water does not have a smell. Okay, we are not talking about the BMC water or the corporation water. There is a lot of mixture, so it has a lot of smell, but pure water does not have smell. So it is subtler than Prithvi. It is subtler than earth. It has only Shabda, Sparsha, and Rupa and Rasa. Then fire. Fire, again, it is subtler than water also. It is available to only three sense organs: Shabda, Sparsha, and Rupa. Fire has sound. Fire, you can touch it, you can feel fire, and you can see fire. It has Rupa. Then air, it is subtler than fire also. It is available only to two senses: Shabda and Sparsha. Air, you can hear. Air, you can feel. And finally, space. It is the subtlest of the five elements. It is available only to the sense of hearing. And that too, they say enclosed space can be perceived by ears. So basically that which is not available for perception by any of the five senses is what we call subtle, absolutely subtle or sukshma. Okay, so abhi gross or subtle, sthula sukshma samjha na ekdam clearly how it gets subtler. So now this is the whole process. Okay, causal universe, that is Maya, which is the seed, that is the first stage, beginning stage. Uske baad, the intermediary stage is the subtle universe, and the final stage is the gross universe. This is the whole process of creation. Okay, now of these three stages, okay, of these three aspects of the universe, that is the causal universe, subtle universe, and the gross universe. The causal universe is anadi. Maya is anadi, it is beginningless. Whereas the subtle and the gross universes, they have a beginning. And once this universe, okay, subtle mein se ek baar gross ban gaya, once this universe, it comes to this gross, fully developed stage, is in that stage for some time, it has moved about for some time. After that, what happens to the whole creation? It again collapses. It condenses or contracts or resolves. So evolution happens, and then after some time, end of evolution or dissolution happens. Okay, now we are saying sometime it is millions and millions of years, but srishti hoti hai, it sthiti. Sthiti means the stage in which it survives for some time and then it resolves again. Yes, question?
Sometimes we see the stars, falling. We can see. So that's the same thing, am I right? They are like.
No, that is something like we dying, like the sthula sharira becoming one with the pancha mahabhutas.
Okay.
So star is just another sthula shariram, no?
Okay. So
Right?
the stars are not another like galaxy or something? They are.
So the different galaxies which have millions of different stars, that also is nothing but different sthula sharirams only, no?
Okay.
Like how, yeah, all the planets, everything, they are different sthula sharirams. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. So this is the whole cycle. Okay, evolution happens. Then after some time of sthiti, dissolution happens. So srishti and then mahapralay. So what happens? The subtle becomes gross. At the time of srishti, the subtle becomes gross. And then again the gross becomes subtle at the time of pralay. Everything goes back into Maya at the time of pralay. So the gross becomes subtle again. That's a whole cyclical process. Unmanifest to manifest and manifest to unmanifest. This cyclic process just goes on and on. Okay. So this is the way in which the universe has always been there. So the difference will be only in the state of the universe, manifest or unmanifest. So only avastha bhed, na to vastu bhed. The same universe will go from manifest to unmanifest. Only the condition will change. Okay, manifest condition to unmanifest condition. And I have told you before also, Krishna gives a nice verse to talk about this. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. So Krishna says that the beginning, in the beginning, the beings which were manifest, unmanifest, they were avyakt. First, they will come to manifestation in the middle, and then again they will go back to unmanifest. So vyakta, so first avyakta, then in the middle, madhyani, they will be vyakta, and uske baad vapas avyakta, unmanifest. So he says that when Arjun was crying about having to kill his dear Bhishma and Drona, Krishna explains this. Krishna gives this verse and says that there is no need to grieve about them only, because nothing is actually lost, Arjun. For whom are you crying? Only the form or the shape changes. The problem is we get attached to the shape, we get attached to the costume, the covering. So we get attached to this outer covering and lose sight of the substance. So avyakta first, vyakta in the middle, and avyakta again. Whole cyclic process just keeps going on like this. So this is the layout of the cosmology. Sorry, there was a question. I'll see. The word Maya seems to be totally different from the way we use in day-to-day life. Absolutely. In fact, we use it like moha. we use it like delusion, right? It's like, it's Maya, that means it's like an optical illusion. But if you go to see everything anatma that has come out of Maya, right? The whole universe has come out of Maya. And the whole universe, we are negating it as mithya. So in a sense, like an illusion, like a mirage water, we are negating its absolute reality. Okay, transactionally, vyavaharik satyam is there. But paramarthik satyam, absolute satyam is not there. So that is why we call it Maya, yes, but we conventionally, when we use it, we lose the actual meaning of Maya. So we have to understand it as the causal universe. Okay, Maya is the seed from which the entire universe manifested. Now we'll go into a little bit more detail about Maya. Okay, we'll go to the second stage. Yes. Question. Please ask.
Maya is not different from Bhagwan itself, right?
So
it's
Maya, sorry?
It's a part of, Brahman, right?
Maya also has Brahman as its substratum, adhishthanam. Okay. So we can't say it is a part of a Brahman. Brahman does not have any parts, right? We saw first rule only, first feature. It does not have any part, product, property. So Maya is basically the entire inert universe. Okay. So inert universe, when it has the consciousness, existence, infinite principle as its substratum, those two together, that mixture is what we call Bhagwan or Ishwar. Okay. Now understood?
Okay, thank you.
जैसे जीव हम क्या बोलते हैं? We are a mixture of this shariratrayam, the inert shariratrayam, and the substratum atma. Same way, the inert prapancha along with the Maya is what we call Ishwar. Along with the Brahman, the consciousness is what we call Ishwar.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. So now we are going to the second stage. So this causal universe coming to the subtle universe. तो पहले वो देखते हैं. तो subtle universe क्या है? Subtle universe is made out of 5 subtle elements. The Pancha Mahabhutas, but Sukshma Pancha Mahabhutas. Correct? So Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jalam, and Prithvi, or space, then Vayu, air, Agni, fire, water, and earth. So these are the 5 elements. In the initial stage, they are in the subtle form. Means they are not available for any kind of transaction. Not like we can't even see them. So it is not visible to us. Now, the scriptures point out that these 5 elements, they have come out of Maya. Okay. So whatever are the ingredients of Maya, they are going to be inherent in these 5 elements also. Correct? Like whatever is the composition of gold, वही same composition bangle का भी रहने वाला है. Whatever is the composition of clay, वही same composition pot का भी रहने वाला है. Whatever is the composition of like water, same composition will be in the wave also. अगर water H2O है, तो wave is also going to be H2O only, right? So same way, Maya is the cause. उसमें से the pancha sukshma bhutas have come. So the ingredients of Maya will be there in the pancha sukshma bhutas also. And these sukshma bhutas, they form the gross universe. So the same ingredients will be there in the gross universe also. Correct? तो माया के जो composition है, जो components है, जो features है, वो subtle elements में होंगे, वो सूक्ष्म प्रपंच में होंगे, and the same will be there in the gross universe also, the sthula prapancha also. So if we want to know the features or the composition or the ingredients of Maya, वो तो हम directly, because it is not perceivable. So how do we find out what are the ingredients? तो हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? We'll have to find out what are the features of the gross universe, because we can see the universe. It is perceivable, right? So from that we can know that, okay, now the gross universe has these features. So that means Maya as well as the subtle elements also would be having the same features. Correct? ये process समझा? So then let us look at what are the features in this universe that we see commonly. Okay, what are the common features? So Shastra says that there are 3 Shaktis which is prevalent in the whole universe. Only these 3 Shaktis make this whole universe. First is Jnana Shakti, second is Kriya Shakti, and third is Dravya Shakti. This is what is observable for us. It is visible to us. So Jnana Shakti kya hai? It is the knowing faculty, the sentiency faculty, right? Especially found in living beings, by which we are able to know things, sense and experience the world, right? In fact, if Jnana Shakti was absent, then all the creation would be inert. There would be nobody to do any transaction. We would all be like statues. So Jnana Shakti is one faculty which is present in the entire creation, right? That we can see. Now, the second Shakti, that is Kriya Shakti. As the name suggests, Kriya Shakti means dynamism. पहले तो हम ये सेंशंसी देखते हैं, ज्ञान शक्ति देखते हैं, फिर हम क्या देखते हैं? डायनामिज्म. There is so much movement in this universe, right? The capacity to be active, the capacity to do things, the Kriya Shakti, motion, dynamism. That is what we see everywhere in this universe, right? So that is what is the second feature that we see in the whole universe, Kriya Shakti. And the third is called Dravya Shakti. Dravya Shakti means the inertia feature. So this is the feature in which both Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti, they are switched off. Okay, when Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti are turned off, when they are put to sleep, when both Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti are absent, it is the inertia feature. So inertia means the absence of the knowing faculty as well as the absence of the acting faculty. So from the word inert, we get inertia, like a vegetable. Okay, it is inert. It can neither act nor it can know. It can be, it can be inert. That is what we call Dravya Shakti. And technically, all these three features, what are they known as? The Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and the Dravya Shakti. The technical name for them are Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun. Very, very early in our course, we had looked into these three gunas, right? Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogunas. So, Jnana Shakti is nothing but Sattvagun, knowledge. Then Kriya Shakti is Rajogun, dynamism, motion, acting, working, doing. And Dravya Shakti is nothing but Tamogun, inertia. And now, since all these three Shaktis, all these three gunas, Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun, are there in this whole universe, that means we can safely conclude that these three gunas are there in Maya also, and these three gunas are there in the subtle universe also. Correct? Jaise we saw this example, no? Ke clay ka jo, like if we want to know the features, the ingredients of the clay, we can just find out the ingredients of the pot and we know what are the ingredients of the clay. If we just find out the ingredients of the wave, we know what are the ingredients of water, right? Same way, we found out what are the ingredients of this gross universe. So now that since gross universe has Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun as its components, so these three gunas have to be the components of Maya also, and of the 5 subtle elements also, right? So these three features are, these three gunas which are seen in the cosmos, they are there in the Maya also and in the 5 elements also. And here the word guna, no, it is not translated as the property or attribute, but it is translated as the component, a component of Maya. So it is like 3 gunas, no? They are like 3 strands of a string. If you take 3 strands, okay, one is the Sattva strand, one is the Rajas strand, one is the Tamas strand, and you intertwine it just like a choti, okay, just like a intertwined plait, that is when you get the Maya string. So this 3-stranded string is Maya. And that is why the name of Maya, Maya is called Trigunatmika Maya, and Guna, dictionary meaning, one of the dictionary meanings of the word Guna is string only. So these 3 strands are intertwined to make this string of Maya. So Trigunatmika Maya. So Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun are the 3 strands intertwined, and that is what is Maya. Okay. So since Maya has a sattvic component, a rajasic component, and a tamasic component, now it is fair to say, it is safe to say that even all the 5 elements will have a sattvic component, a rajasic component, and a tamasic component. Let me share the screen. Yeah, okay, forgot to share the screen. Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Dravya Shakti. Okay. So look at this slide. What did we say? Maya has three components: the sattvic component, the rajasic component, and the tamasic component. So that way we have a sattvic component of space, rajasic component of space, and tamasic component of space. Please pay a lot of attention to this, because so the entire today's class and tomorrow's class, how this universe actually comes into being will be based on this understanding, okay? Or this understanding how the universe came into being, that is not going to help you anyways in gaining Atmajnanam or Moksha or any, it is not going to take you any closer to that. But it is important to know how the universe came about, right? That is why it is information. This knowledge is not going to bring about any transformation in our lives, but it is an important information for us. Okay, that is why just it is a little technical, so thoda attention dena padega. All right. So we saw that space has a tamasic, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic component. Similarly, there is also a sattvic component of air, rajasic component of air, and tamasic component of air. Similarly, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic fire. Similarly, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic water. Similarly, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic earth. So there are 3 gunas and 5 elements. So we get totally 15 components. Can you see the 15 components? It's clear, no? How we have 15 components. So what is the first level of creation? The Sukshma Bhuta Srishti, the Sukshma Prapancha, the subtle universe. So the creation or manifestation of the subtle universe, the creation or manifestation of the subtle universe from the subtle elements. So the scriptures point out that all the subtle bodies of the universe, okay, all the subtle bodies of the individuals, all the subtle bodies of everything in this universe, they are manifested out of these subtle elements. Now, how is this subtle body actually made? So, uske liye pehle we need to remember that which are the parts of our subtle body. Does anyone remember the 19 parts of the subtle body? We'll have to go really far above the slide. Yeah, so these are the parts of the Sukshma Shariram, the subtle body. Pancha Jnanendriyas means the 5 sense organs of knowledge. Jisse we get to know things, okay? Remember this, Pancha Jnanendriyas means the 5 sense organs of knowledge. Then Pancha Karmendriyas, so 5 sense organs of action, Kriya. Pancha Pranas means the 5 physiological systems which gives energy for the kriyas to happen, and the 4 antahkaranani, which takes care of the data which we get through all the 5 sense organs of knowledge. Right? We remember these 19 parts, no? Then I'll go forward. I'll go further. So, yes, subtle body banta kaise hai, that we will see now. Okay. See, we have got 5 sense organs of knowledge: the ears, the skin, the eyes, the tasting tongue, and the nose, the Pancha Jnanendriyanis. So the 5 sense organs of knowledge, they have got the knowing faculty. Therefore, which guna is predominant in these sense organs? The sense organs are the knowing faculties. So the Jnana Shakti. Hence, they have evolved from the Sattva Guna of the 5 elements. The Sattva Guna component of the 5 elements are responsible for the generation of the 5 sense organs of knowledge. And in what order? ये समझ रहा है ना? That see, all the 5 elements, the Akasha, Vayu, fire, Agni, Jala, and Prithvi, all of them have a sattvic component, right? ये समझा ना? तो उस sattvic component, the sattva guna of every element is responsible for one sense organ. The sattva guna component of space, that is Akasha, is responsible for ears, Shrotram. The sattva guna component of air is responsible for skin, feel. Okay. Then the sattva guna component of fire is responsible for eyes. Sattva guna component of water is responsible for tongue, the tasting tongue. Huh? And again, we have to remember, we are talking about the Jnanendriyas. We are not talking about the physical organ. We are talking about the Shakti behind it. And finally, the Sattva Guna component of earth is responsible for the organ of smell, the nose. So thus, eyes, ears, skin, tongue, and nose, these are the 5 subtle organs, and these subtle organs, the knowing features, the sensory faculties, they are born out of the sattvic component of the individual 5 elements. Samjha? Is it? Okay. So one component, just say, if we say that, okay, water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen, तो उसमें से हाइड्रोजन लेके कुछ बन रहा है, ऑक्सीजन लेके कुछ और बन रहा है. Okay, so like that, sattvic component of space हमें श्रवण शक्ति देता है. So like that, sattvic component of all the elements give us one sense organ. Okay, one sense organs of knowledge. ठीक है? Then 15 components are done. The 5 Jnanendriyas are done. Now we look at the Antahakaranam. Okay, the mind, the fourfold mind, which, what does the fourfold mind do? It coordinates the 5 sense organs. It controls the 5 sense organs, right? So we call it the Antahakaranam. This Antahakaranam, it is born out of the component of all the 5 elements together. मतलब आकाश, वायु, अग्नि, जल, पृथ्वी, पांचों का सात्विक कंपोनेंट ब्लेंड करके बनता है अंतःकरणम. Okay, because why? The mind has to control all the sense organs. Okay, in fact, the sense organs function only when the mind is behind it. You can hear only if your mind is behind your ears. Otherwise, you are in the class, but if your mind is not available, mind is wandering out somewhere, even though you are not deaf, you will not be able to hear anything that I'm saying. So your dhyana needs to be there. Your mind needs to be there. So mind has to be behind the eyes, behind the ears, nose, tongue, skin. So mind, the Antahakaranam, it requires the Sattva Guna of all the 5 elements. Okay. So this Antahakaranam, it is born out of the Sattvic components of all the 5 elements. Okay, I will share these slides. Just go through them. It is no rocket science. Easy ही है, खाली बहुत सारा है. Too many words are there. That is why it is getting confusing probably. So just go through the slides once again and we'll understand that. So abhi we know that how the Panch Jnanendriyas, the 5 sense organs of knowledge are born. We are talking about the subtle body. The subtle body actually कैसे बनता है वो देख रहे हैं. तो अब देख लिया कि सत्व गुण component of all the 5 elements, individual elements, उससे पंच ज्ञानेंद्रियास बनते हैं, and the sattva guna component of all the 5 elements together, उससे अंतःकरण बनता है. Okay, that is how actually our subtle body is getting made. Now extending the same principle further. Okay, we have got pancha karmendriyas also, 5 sense organs of action. Which are they? Vak, Pani, Padav, Upastha and Payu. Vak means talking tongue. Pani, hands. Then Padav, legs. Upastha means the organs of excretion, organs of procreation. And Payu, the organs of excretion. So these, again, I'm talking about the subtle body, the Shakti, not the gross body, not the physical organ. So these Pancha Karmendriyas, they belong to the subtle body. So they also are generated out of the subtle elements only, the Sukshma Bhutas. But which component now? They are the Karmendriyas. So action. So Kriya Shakti component. So Kriya Shakti components means the Rajas component. The sense organs of knowledge were born out of the Sattva component, the Sattva Guna component. Why? Because they were sense organs of knowledge. Sattva Guna, it is associated with the knowing faculty, the Jnana Shakti. But the Karmendriyas, they are associated with action, Kriya Shakti. So obviously they should be born out of the Rajoguna component of the 5 elements. Hai na? So which is the order? The Rajasic component of space, Akasha, is responsible for our talking tongue, is the power behind the speech. Then Rajasic component of air is responsible for hands. It is the power behind the hands. Rajasic component of fire is responsible for legs. Then Rajasic component of water is responsible for the creation of genitals, the creation of the power behind the genitals. And the Rajasic component of earth is responsible for creation of the power behind the anus. So again, we are talking about the Sukshma part, not the physical organ. The power behind the physical organs, they come from the Rajasic component of these individual elements. And behind the Karmendriyas, what is there? The 5 sense organs of action, for them to act, for them to work, we require Shakti, force, the vital force, the life force. So without Prana Shakti, no organ can act. So you need energy to act, hai na? And that energy comes from the Pancha Pranas, the 5 physiological systems. That is why when you have not eaten, so when you are fasting for many days, you cannot even speak. The first thing that you find it very difficult to speak. If like whoever is in this practice of fasting, you observe that कि बोलना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है. Why? Because the prana shakti has reduced. So the kriya shakti of vak is not being able to, it is not receiving that kind of energy. So there will be no energy for talking, no energy for working, no energy for walking. So no karmendriyas work without prana, without the energy. So prana shakti, the pancha pranas, which support all the karmendriyas, they have to be born out of the rajasic component of all the 5 elements together. So just as the antakaranam is born out of total sattva elements, the five sattva components of the sattva component of all the 5 elements together, वैसे ही the pancha pranas are born out of total rajas element of the rajoguna of all the 5 elements. उससे ये बनता है the pancha pranas. That is how it is actually made. So we've already seen the pancha jnanendriyas. They are made out of the sattva gun component of individual elements. Uske baad हमने देखा the antakaranam. How does the antakaranam come into being? It gets made out of all the elements ka together sattva guna component. Then we saw the karmendriyas. How do the karmendriyas actually come into being? They come into being from the rajoguna component of individual elements. And then how does the pancha pranas come into being? They come into being by the rajoguna component of all the 5 elements together. Okay, so all the 19 parts we have covered: pancha jnanendriyas, pancha karmendriyas, pancha pranas, and the 4 antakaranani. So this is how actually the entire sukshma shariram is born. The entire sukshma shariram is born out of the sattva guna and rajoguna components of all the 5 elements together. And so we have seen sukshma bhuta srishti and sukshma sharira srishti. So the whole subtle universe, okay, the whole subtle universe, that is born like this, out of the sattva guna and rajoguna components of the 5 elements. Okay. So I think we should end here. Next class, we will see how the gross body is formed. We have seen how the subtle universe and the subtle body is formed. Next class, we'll see that how the gross body, how the bodies that we see has come into being. Okay. Okay, there is a question. What is the role of tamogun? So tamogun is, if we just look down upon it, but it is as important as sattva gun and rajogun. It is the dravya shakti in us. So basically, whenever anything is at rest, okay, that thing is tamogun pradhan. And rest is as important as activity. You cannot know anything, you cannot act on anything till and unless you are well rested. Right? And there are so many things for which inertia itself becomes so important that, like suppose plants, okay, they are tamogun pradhan that way. If you go to see, they do not have, they have very, very limited jnana shakti and little more, what do you call, kriya shakti. We'll look into that आगे कि किसमें कौन सा शक्ति ज्यादा है, कम है, all that. We'll just look into that. But tamogun is as important as the sattvagun and rajogun, right? Because if there is no tamogun, there can't be the other 2 gunas also. Any element also, if you take, it has inertia, it has that dravya shakti in it, hence it is there, hence it is present, right, as a body. The kriya shakti is making that body move, it is making that body act. But first the body has to be there, right? Yeah. Okay, so we'll end the class here. There are no other questions. Was this class clear, or was it like very, very confusing? Siddharth ji, Padmini ji?
I need to go over again, but as you mentioned that it is not related to, it is not so important for moksha. So because it's
Yeah, it is not important for moksha, but it is important to know how this universe came about.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Namaste, madam.
Namidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om. Thank you.